day of offerings today. Or
Yay!
Psalm 18 offerings. So we are starting today with Dean Dresser. Dean, if you would like to tell us about your, again, shockingly powerful and beautiful offering.
Well, yeah, if you bring up the offering, I think I'll give people
Yes.
a second to look at it.
Yes.
And then... That's flipped, but that's okay. Oh, that's the detail. That's the detail.
That's the detail. Here's another detail. And here's the entire.
So you get to see the surface.
Which would you like me to show?
Yeah, let's start with that. Okay. Thank you. So this is my Psalm 18 offering. As you know, I considered it, David wrote it, and it felt like one of these epic poems. And so I thought it was very violent for me in sections, and captured that well. Also that nature is terrifying, that we live in a world, so that I wanted to capture that. So on the left side, you can see that kind of explosion. So there are literally little bits of coal in that. And also I use etching powder so that it really exploded over the burned area and totally wiped out. So you don't see any of the matches in there because that would be a desolated field. And then you can see where the streams reveal the world and the undergirdings. And so they sweep up out of the burned area of that area underneath, which I consider the wider universe or the realm of God himself. And then that all leads into kind of that circle of wind and partly residue of fire, of purity, and that took David, took the speaker out of harm and put him into this boundless space. So that was my attempt to capture that. So that I'll take any questions or.
Wow. Rabbi? Is the rabbi here?
Yeah, sorry, I muted myself. Did you feel differently doing this one since you had that initial reaction? Was it a different process for you?
No, actually, when I do these, I actually do these as interpretation of text so that I stay pretty close to it. You've seen that before. So in that, these are closer to illuminated manuscripts. They're not, I'd like to say they're not an illustration. So I'm not trying to illustrate the text. I'm really trying to work through the text.
Beautiful.
And the force of the text and the prayer of the text.
I'm in awe, really, Dean. And is this the first one where you've had the side where the burnt off has taken off paper like that? That feels like an expression that's very dramatic.
There's some in others, if you see all of them. You got to my website and look at 12, I'm mounting the others, but this one was, this one captures more of, it's really, I see it as David as an old man or whoever, a commander, whatever. I thought about the generals, in Israel with Egypt when they both reflected.
Yep.
It's that kind of it's not, I don't want to use the word wisdom psalm, but it's a reflection back.
Wow. Beautiful. Beautiful, Dean. And exciting to see the part you're going to do tomorrow night that we've seen. Yeah. Folks, tomorrow night is going to be spectacular. Spectacular.
We'll talk about some of the details at the end, and then we'll talk about next 3 weeks. Alicia.
Right. The world's foundations laid bare. What a wonder it had been to have seen David swaying above the Tehom just after Elyon tilted the heavens and stepped down on a cloud to heed David's cry. Did the mere presence of mystery rend apart the earth? Or did it come loose when God shook with anger, and the anger broke the mountains, and the mountains fell into the sea, and the seas rose up into the heavens, and the expanse collapsed you into him, and he became king? What I wonder is, had I been there to see Tohu Vabohu, would I too have felt myself a king?
Wow.
Oops, I forgot. I keep forgetting I'm muted. I'm losing my touch. This is fantastic, and I love the way you use the focus of this, which is obviously a lot shorter than the original. Of all of the, I love this. Did it come loose when God shook with anger, and the anger broke the mountains, and the mountains fell into the sea, and the seas rose up into the heavens, and the expanse. Fantastic, fantastic energy there. Talk to us about writing this.
Yeah, it's exactly that. I put in the Facebook group that I at first tried to write the Iron Maiden rhyme of the Ancient Mariner, like to to fit this. And that's 13 minutes of song and 23 stanzas, and I couldn't do it. But a half of that is in the Facebook group. But in the process of doing that, one thing that really struck me was, I don't know if it's like a quarter of the way into the psalm, there's the part where David is sort of hanging above the firmament, and it really struck me as a very strange image. And I was wondering just what could cause that level of disruption or destruction in the earth, in the universe. And then how at the end of the psalm, and we saw this a lot in Gaia Bernstein's, that David seems so pompous, and David, for lack of a better word, but he seems very pompous, and he's acting out revenge and vengeance. It feels in a way that feels different from how God was acting in saving and delivering David earlier in the psalm. So to me, there was sort of this collapse of divine and human, and God coming down and tilting the heavens was also sort of collapsing those two worlds. So just playing with that idea.
Yeah, I love it. I really love it, and I really love the rhythm of it. And the fulcrum sentence for me is did the mere presence of mystery rend apart the earth? Really fantastic.
Great.
Is it, Alicia, is this your first?
No, it's my third.
Okay. Your third. Okay, excellent. Sorry. It's hard for me to remember all of them, but this is fantastic. I just want to make sure we acknowledge anybody for whom it's their first.
Thank you.
Joan Friedman.
Oh, I like that. Psalm 18, unresolved. Perfect. Joan, are you here?
Oh, no.
He's not here today, Harold.
Okay.
We'll hold Joan for tomorrow.
Okay.
Michael Goldstein.
Here I am. Now, this is interpreted freely. I took, as I always do, Rabbi Kleinbaum's suggestion that we make it our own. And I just tried to retranslate in my own words what I was reading.
Perfect.
I don't know that I internalize it the way other members do, but this is what I did.
Michael, there is no one right way to do it. It's what works for you. That's the measure. Don't measure against anybody else.
All right, and Harold, this goes on for 2 pages. I did a little.
Yes.
Okay, here we go.
I have it printed out in front of me.
Okay. When doing the good, it rescued David from his adversaries. David forever proclaimed his adoration of the good as the source of strength and as the savior, the protector, and the fortress. When David felt weak, in despair, on the verge of disaster, be it from fright, drowning in sorrow, or going through hell on earth, David pleaded for the good to acknowledge our plight. When our world erupts like a volcano, goodness is hidden in the darkness. Then storms clear away the brimstone while people flee, followed by fresh waters shaping the earth anew. Goodness as my bulwark conquers powerful evils and provides me strength. Goodness results in making me a better person because I have protected the path of the good. I do not avoid doing good, and I resist evil acts. Goodness rewards me as I do good. I act lovingly, show wholesomeness, revere purity. Goodness rescues the downtrodden and rejects those acting superior. Goodness is a source of enlightenment, making light in darkness, providing strength to carry on forcefully. Goodness is perfection with clear words to protect everyone who seeks it. Doing the good is humanity's solid base, supplying strength, guiding humans toward fleet-footed universal aspirations, guiding against foes with strong arms to wield brass bow and arrows. Goodness provides protection with its positive examples and humble nature. My stride is sure. I do not falter. I pursue evildoers and will conquer them with my deep resolve until they are prostrate. Goodness has armed me for battle, and I will eliminate those who hate me, even as they cry out for the help from the good, who does not respond to them. I grind them into bits of swirling sand. Goodness saves me from hostilities, forms nations of citizens who support it, while aliens hide in fright. Again, goodness exists as our strong foundation, giving punishment on humans' behalf, giving protection from those who detest us. Goodness lifts me over my enemies, saves me from harm. Consequently, I praise the good in citizenship and proclaim it in prayerful hymns, demonstrating kindness and deep love of David and his progeny forever.
Beautiful, Michael. Beautiful. Speak to us about doing this. I like that your superscription is interpreted freely.
Well, again, when we get to Adonai and God and so forth and so on, I've always translated that as the good, doing the good. To me, that's the ultimate. And I was just able to interpret it, the language from Levy. I used that one as the primary guide. We didn't use the Sepharia in this teaching this time. I was surprised that we didn't, but I followed through the Levy, and then I went to the Bernstein just to confirm, and some of the, what was the other one that I did? The Fisher, just to look and see what words they used, but I tried to put all of it into my own words.
And beautifully done. And look, this verse, I really, when our world erupts like a volcano, goodness is hidden in the darkness.
Right. I summarized all of that imagery
Yep.
in just that one word volcano, because I felt it was just too much. I mean, it was like beating. There was just too much detail there for me.
Perfect. That's exactly what you should do. And that image is very, very powerful. So thank you for this, Michael. Beautifully done. Keep it up.
Thank you.
All right, let's see who is next. Donna Gray.
Go. Oh God, my God, I thank you. What a year this has been, and I'm still here. On this first day of daylight savings time, I say thank you for the light. Thank you for the sun that shines through the clouds. Thank you for the silence that settles my nervous system so I can hear the birds chirping. I can almost smell the springtime flowers that will soon be here. Vaccinated, I once again hug a friend in the park. Thank you for sparing me, for keeping me safe. But wars haven't stopped raging, and my enemies lurk in the shadows. The virus continues to surge and abate and surge again, with countries that declared victory forced back into lockdown. Truth deniers at home tempt that same fate. They plot to destroy what I hold dear by selfishly refusing to listen to reason. Meanwhile, Mother Earth is having a tantrum, raging at us for the damage we have caused with our greed and desire for omnipotence, how easily she can force us into submission. Powerless feel justified in casting blame on someone else, anyone else. Yet how easily the power hungry are corrupted once they gain their coveted power. Different actors take on different parts in our human drama, but if we're all one, then we're all complicit. The battle continues on my internal battlefield, Yetzer Hara versus Yetzer Tov. My efforts to be good don't always prevail, but I keep trying. I'm so much more conscious than I used to be, and for that, I am grateful. Oh God, my God, Thank you for not giving up on me. Thank you that I am alive and still able to grow. Thank you for science. Thank you for the return of quietly capable government. Thank you for the inner compass that shows me right from wrong. Thank you that the long winter is almost over. Harold, please put in almost. Thank you for the reminder to turn toward the light so that shadows can fall behind me. Let there be light. Let there be light. Let there be light.
Beautiful, beautiful, Donna. Talk to us about writing this.
Well, I was overwhelmed by this psalm for sure. And I just decided, you know, I'm not even going to try to go through it line by line. I mean, no. And so like, I referred to, you know, what was very important to me was the analysis that was given of, you know, praise, mishigas, praise. And, you know, and like the war, I looked at the wars that are raging as, you know, the things that are going on in this world that make it more difficult to always be in the light. But, you know, we just try,
Yep.
you know, and don't give up.
What a year this has been, and I'm still here. Doesn't that sum it up, huh? Beautiful, beautiful, Donna. And I think that this idea that we keep trying wherever we are, understanding the world has some energy that's beyond our control. It's very beautiful. Let there be light, let there be light, let there be light. Beautiful way to end. Thank you, Donna.
Beautiful, Donna. Yes. That being vaccinated and being able to hug someone, I think we
Yeah.
all feel that. Barbara Grindell. Is Barbara here today? I can't see the list. Do we see Barbara?
Yes,
He's
I
here.
started muted.
Okay, yep, that's
Okay,
our,
I started muted, I said hello, and that's all I got to. Thank you for reminding me. That's important. I speak praises to you, Adonai, the source of my courage. You are my rock, the cornerstone with which I build my shelter. I have cried out to you, and you turned your ear to hear my voice. I was engulfed by the intense grief that comes with personal loss. From my narrow space, I called out to you, Adonai. The earth quaked and quivered. Through the clouds, there was hail and burning coals. The loud noises of thunder and bolts of lightning appeared against the darkness of the sky.
mm,
The foundation of my world had open wounds that needed to be healed. Adonai was my strength, my support, my rescuer, and I was able to move into a large open space. I was able to deal with my grief, which was too strong for me at first. As I reached out my open hands to you, Adonai, I was saved because of my rightness. I have tried to be upright, guarding against insincerity. To the kind, you show loving kindness. To the pure, you show genuineness. To the perverse, you show unpleasantness. You bring light into my life, illuminating the darkness. As I light Shabbat candles every Friday night, the darkness lightens. I can see and I feel lighter. Adonai, your way is pristine. Your word is prime. You protect all who believe in you. You are my rock, my rescuer. You deliver me and I feel safe. It's only you, Adonai, who lifts me up. I give thanks to you. I sing songs to your infiniteness always.
wow. Would you talk first about writing this? You bring light into my life, illuminating the darkness.
Right.
So let's hear, talk.
Right. When I first read it, I mean, when we read it in class, I was thinking, well, I can't relate to that battle, the external battle, David's battle, but everyone has their own. I have my own battle.
Right.
And that's what I went with. Especially when you said, have it be meaningful to yourself.
Yep.
And that's what I did, because I was having a lot of trouble trying to get something out. It was Saturday morning, I just sat down and said, well, I'm going to do this. And it came. Sometimes when I'm finished, I don't even know where it came from. It's like the words get on the paper and I don't know. And I really want to get out of my rut, as it were, of being like Bernstein and very few words and a lot of white space, we said. So this is much different. I mean, the psalm is much different. But I think I used the whole COVID experience. I realized that all my Zoom classes have something to do with God and Jewishness and learning. And so that's in here as well, somewhere, about how I move through the grief. In other words, I'm taking an olive class through a synagogue in Florida, and this class, and Am Hayam on Cape Cod. I have Torah study. All kinds of things are going on. It's all related, though, to my Jewish education.
Yeah.
So that's why I put God in there, from that perspective.
And that's the key thing. Make it work for you, even if it's a reaction against. Nothing in Jewish thought says we have to sign up for, being robots or automatons. These are deep texts, and sometimes the place we find deepest connection is to reject something, and that's okay. But to say this sentence, I was able to deal with my grief, and to be honest, which was too strong for me at first. That's very powerful. And
Right.
to have that model that sometimes these negative feelings are so strong that you can't imagine surviving them. And that's a piece of what the Psalms express over and over again, that there are moments of such deep darkness that we can't imagine light. There's moments of such deep grief we can't imagine being in a different place. So that's very beautiful. Thank you.
Thank you.
Goldali will be tomorrow, I'm informed, and Peter Klein, which brings us to Peter Klein.
It was supposed to be Lori Krotman.
Lori Krotman, all right. Which brings us to Lori Krotman.
Okay, sorry. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Because I just came in from Seattle and plugged in my computer at 4 o'clock this morning. And my grandchildren are here, so.
Wow.
All right, all of that. So I just want to say that I must have read this poem, this psalm 60 times, and I just said, I can't do it. I can't do it. I can't do it. I said, this will be the one that I'll skip. I figured the one that bothers me the most, there's something in there. So I wrote it before we started analyzing it. And then I went back and it fit. So here we go. To the rescuer who rescues me from me and allows me to triumph over my enemies. Untie me from myself. Help me fly. The lion roars before the MGM movie unfolds. The wizard bursts skyward in a cloud of smoke and fire. Superman defies gravity and flies to the core of the star. Wonder Woman repels evil, armed with bulletproof bracelets. Their brilliance pierces the darkness, and nothing can stop them once they are unbound. So why, oh, why can't I? You extend your hand, but I hesitate to grasp it. I can do this by myself. Asking for help feels weak, insincere, fleeting, like it will go away as soon as I stop asking, or as soon as I hurt someone, or as soon as I hurt myself. After all, I am mostly a good person. Isn't that enough? And who are you to say that I am any better or worse than the rest? I know I can be the roaring lion, the wizard, the superhero, but I have to let go. Stop trying so hard. Relax into the moment. Be present to the external forces that swirl around in constant movement. I don't want to rule over anyone else. I don't even want to rule over myself. I just want to be here, singing, moaning, dancing, stumbling, shouting, sighing. What else is there?
Beautiful, Lori. I'm so glad you did something. There's a lot here. To the rescuer who rescues me from me. Okay, talk to us a little bit more about it now that we've
Well, I guess the two things that were most this is in a lot of my psalms is that I view most, not that there's not tremendous evil out there and we have to do justice and all the things we do, but the source of my suffering from it comes inside me.
Yep.
And so
Yep.
I have to make friends with my suffering. I've known that for a long time. And reading this poetry helps puts it out in a very different way. It's like praying for me. And I never wrote before in my life. But
I love hearing that, Lori. I can't tell you how much that moves me. It really.
It's shocking.
Oh, you're muted, Lori. You just muted.
It's shocking to me what I'm able to express in this form. I never ever thought. And I was also very taken by, throughout the Psalms, the supernatural, not really supernatural, but the power of nature is, and it continues for us in this day, even though we're in the city or wherever we can't really see the sky, we do see Superman flying and Wonder Woman and all those fantastically powerful images that really represent what I thought they were talking about in the Psalm. So that's that.
It's a process. Prayer is a process. You don't solve things immediately. And it's a matter of opening up some things that are often in our modern world very shut down. And we're used to only having those muscles, if that's the right image, those muscles activated in therapy, right? That's the place where we're in our modern world where we're supposed to get in touch with the deepest parts. But prayer is also a place. And for those of us who aren't used to that, and the Psalms are a book of prayers ultimately. It's ultimately, they're unlike any other book in the Bible in that it really is a bunch of prayers. Some full of hope, some full of despair, some full of happy, some sad, but it's ultimately they're praying for different kinds of things and in different relationship with ourselves and whatever the infinite one is. So I think there's deep truth to be found that way. And as we keep saying over and over again, 2,500 years ago, we are connecting to this human spirit that is trying the same stuff we are. I don't want to rule over anyone else. I don't even want to rule over myself. But I have to let go and stop trying so hard. All of these are deeply human experiences of looking for our connection to something bigger than ourselves, and some sense of guidance about how one might get from here to there. It's on some level so simple, right? But it's the most complicated of all.
Lori, I have two questions. One is, I'm sorry, you said external, but you wrote eternal. Which word did you want?
Eternal. Sorry. Eternal.
The second thing is, have you ever been to the CBST Pride Shabbat services?
I don't.
You quote a line from our Pride Shabbat. You quote a line from our Pride Shabbat service liturgy.
Oh, this. I don't think I didn't really make up that line, but I used it.
Well, it is a somewhere over the rainbow kind of reference, right? So we always sing that at the. But that longing is very deep, right? Beautiful. Thank you, Lori. Keep writing.
Thank you.
There's a reason writing is powerful, right? There's a reason that putting words on paper actually is, even for those of you who are not doing it to share with us, which I hope everybody in the class will try, because don't ever say you can't write, because writing is it's a different expression than talking. It really is different. And putting something on paper, even if it's something that changes and you keep editing, I really, really, really want to encourage people who haven't tried it to do it.
Monica Raymond.
I love the opening line. That's great.
When David was going nutso in the garden, after Psalm 18. When David was going nutso in the garden, jumping up and down, proclaiming God a rock, I was pounding bene seeds for tahini. And when he claimed the dark clouds were God, and the sunlight finally shining through was God, I was pulling the papery skins off of chickpeas warm from the pot. God is God. A rock is a rock. Weather is weather. What are we, pagans? But I don't argue with David. who's racing back and forth in the garden shrieking. I'm a gazelle who's leaping off of crags and just barely landing without toppling, who bends the brass bow and now is aiming at God knows what. I shut my eyes, I'm not looking. Now he's screaming, he's crushed the enemy into dust, and me, I'm mashing chickpeas and tahini not into dust, but into something I can feed the foreign children, cringing before their David, new master, and say, come, eat. We eat the same food. We are not so different. And I can feed him when he comes in from the garden, where all afternoon he's been going nutso, remembering how fear choked him, and something saved him from that.
Wow. Wow, Monica. Just wow. Talk to us.
Well, all along I wanted a counterweight to the violence and the war, and another version of making goodness. And I found it in this figure who's like an aunt or a sister or,
Yeah.
And there was an article in the Times about Israeli food and Palestinian food and how they're really the same food. So that's how I came to the part about the
Beautiful.
feeding the foreign children. And what I realized after I wrote it is that the song's kind of like the reenactment of a trauma, where like that was the very end that I came to. Like, there was this moment of terror and then you got out of it, and it's kind of like being in a circle, reliving it over and over and remembering the terror and then remembering getting out of it. So so that was what I discovered about that song in the process of writing this. So.
Wow, I love that. I was pulling the papery skins off of
Oh, yes.
from the pot. Amazing.
Monica, while I have you, can I change the Z to an S in here
Yes.
so it matches the other one?
Yeah.
I have a question for you, Monica, because when I heard you reading this, I heard also Christ in the Garden of Gethsemane, dealing with God. Was that in your intention, or was it just in the way I received this psalm?
That was not in my intention, but I'm not surprised that it carried that, because I was like, I had him in the garden, and then I was like, why is this in the garden? But and then I thought also the Garden of Eden. So anyway, it could be all of that, but
Okay.
it just seemed to come with it.
This is very beautiful, Monica.
Yeah, and I read that article too, so I love that where the influences are coming in from, you're pulling from different places. And absolutely, what we call Israeli food is, of course, Arab food, just like what we call Jewish food from Eastern Europe was Polish food. I mean, Jews are influenced by wherever they live, of course.
Wow.
So beautiful. And this ending is so powerful. So powerful.
Thank you so much, Monica. Monica, if you could mute yourself and we'll turn to Sue.
Oh, okay. It's hard to follow. Okay. The kindest one came at night. Round and round and round I went. 14 laps equals a mile. Tethered to my pole, the centrifugal force as I rounded the corners. The little hair I had left blowing in the breeze. Dodging people and equipment. Others were impressed, but I knew the truth. It was not a choice. It was what I had to do to stay alive. Tubing all around me, from the slit in my arm to that machine mounted on a pole. No free movement here. Things going into me and coming out. Two-way traffic, a tube for each direction. And the machine demanding to be plugged in or threatening to lose its charge. Asking people to unplug me if I needed to move around. That phrase far too eerie for comfort. Comfort? Ha! But there were angels, the kindest one who came at night, Knew, so she was doing her time on the night shift. It's a different job at night. I could see that. Words of encouragement and helping me just to get through the night, the stay, the ordeal. No talk of the future. Well, not of mine. Just the here and now. And distractions. Her job, its nuances, frustrations, joys. The boyfriend who wanted to move to California. I told her that I had overheard another patient say that she was his favorite. Your favorite? She's my favorite. Angels came in all shapes and sizes. The roommate who could barely walk, inching across the room one night with her mother holding her up to hug me when I was upset. And her mother, younger than me, giving me the kind of advice you only get from a mother. And my own personal angel, arriving every morning, trying not to wake me, bringing clothes, chatting with the roommates when I wouldn't, arranging the visitors, drawing pictures on masks that entertained. Yes, there were masks then. Good practice. Acting brave while living with her own personal terror. The roommates came and went while I stayed. It was a harsh education and I learned fast. There were some who seemed to be doing better, going home sooner, and some who were clearly worse off. The one who waited while it took 2 weeks to figure out that she had relapsed. The one who couldn't or wouldn't grasp the meaning of hospice, no matter how many people tried to explain it to her. The one who stopped treatment while her son sat on the floor in the hallway and cried. Then one day, released. It had been a slow recovery, they said, waiting for test results each day. Would my counts finally start to go up? The doctor I had come to adore, saying that he'd do his version of a rain dance to help bring it on. And finally, with pharmaceutical help, enough recovery to leave. Released, but not to know for 2 months whether the treatment had been successful. Released, but still now the dread of going back. I hope not to, but will if I must. Try to stay in the present, I tell myself, the here and now. In a sense, it's all we really have.
Wow, Sue. So powerful and moving, the detail, this telling of this story as you're going through it, bringing us with you. So tell us about writing it and about how Psalm 18 moved you to this place, really.
Oh, yeah. I often don't really connect with the Psalms, but when we read the Gaia Bernstein one, that was good. I could connect to that. And especially when first of all, I did know that and read you had said, and I read the introduction to her book about her child who had cancer. And that line where she says, something about free, I flee. I mean, I really just had this vision of me. There was one day when I was in the hospital and they had disconnected me from the IV pole it was towards the end, but way before I was leaving, and they had disconnected me from the IV pole and for a short time, and I was I don't know. I said to one of the nurse practitioners said something to me. I was near the elevator. I said, "Oh, I'm leaving. I'm just going to get on. I'm going downstairs and getting the next cab at York Avenue." And she thought I was joking, and she thought I was serious. I freaked her out. But just this idea of, oh, I'm going to flee. I don't know. So I identified with that. And her comment about silent screams in the night made me think of the nighttime. And then when I reread I guess I have the JTS version, there was talk about cherubs and being ensnared by ropes, which I really kind of identified with in terms of, I mean, I wasn't completely circled, but I was way constrained for 8 weeks. So That's kind of where it came from.
Well, that's a fantastic example of where the original psalm itself is too difficult to access, but somebody else's interpretation of that psalm gives you a way in. In your case, Bernstein, which is fantastic. But I bet for many of us in our group, it's each other's interpretations that give us new insights and relationships to the psalm that didn't exist with the original. So what you did is totally legitimate, fantastic, Sue, that gave you the way in. And to go from the cords of death to what it's like to be in a hospital and that level of treatment and feeling tied up, what a strong image. I've never thought of that reading that psalm. And now for the rest of my life, Sue, that image will be part of reading that psalm. See how powerful it is? And for you to go from that understanding her use of the word of free, and that unleashed all of this in you, beautiful, and exactly how a psalm should work. And this constant looking for how does it mean something authentically to you will then create something that all of us can relate to and be very, very moved by. So thank you, Sue. Beautiful.
Oh, I also wanted to say that when another thing that sort of entered into it was the poem that you read at the Friday night service, which I had read before.
That I got from Ira.
Yes, about kindness and that
coming from suffering, right?
Yeah, and that kind of when I was thinking about this particularly kind nurse, I don't know, that kind of.
And that whole image of angels and of the angels at night, I think is very powerful. We've all had angels in our life, some of whom have been people very close to us, and some have been total strangers, and some have been in these moments. And the idea of seeing these powers for the force of good that come when we're so needy. It's a very powerful image to express gratitude for those angels.
Thank you.
Well, what a powerful day of offerings. We're going to
Oh my God, what a day.
We're going to stop there.